It's loading up, everybody. I swear. Oh my god, I'm like losing my mind. Okay, here we go. So, Gary Field has commented that under the member video post that I made, that they enjoy when I describe books that I have read, books that I have read, books that I have read. So, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to discuss a couple of the books that I have not discussed here on the channel before. I think do little miniature, I guess, haul of books. And then this is where the double header comes in. This video is going to be spliced with my book review of The Sun and the Void. So, the first part of this video, but a little more than 20 minutes, I'm gonna guess, will be this, like, half book haul, half describing what I've read before, and then the other half will be that book review that I did, because I filmed it right as Carrie Fisher made their, or not Carrie Fisher, Carrie Field, right as Princess Leia, right as Carrie Field made their suggestion. So I thought that it was like this fun little coincidence, and that I could include it, and that I could include it, and that I could include it. So, as for the book haul, I have got, first of all, Water Moon. Water Moon, and I'm gonna show you the book jacket. So, Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yamba. And this is the book jacket. Ooh, there we go. And then this is the hardcover. It's upside down. This is the hardcover. Are you fucking kidding me? Look at this thing. Okay. So, story about this book. Well, before we get to the story, this is the inside of the jacket. I can't see you all at all, so I'm just gonna... Hello. Very unattractive view of me. So that's the inside of the book jacket. So, this book interested me last year when I read about it, and then I realized it wasn't out yet. So this here says, a woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets, and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop. In this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel, first of all, fantasy, second of all, dreamlike. Beautiful. I am hoping for a repeat of The Spear Cuts Through Water, although nothing will ever compare to that book, I think. I'm fairly certain. I love that book a lot. So, should say. New release. Oh no, I wasn't complaining though. I thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. I asked them at the counter and they were like, nope, that's actually what it is, which I'm happy for. So I got like a $40 book. I think it was like $28 or something like that. When all was said and done, or no, 38. Quick math is not. Basically, I got it for $30, which is good for a hardcover book here in Canada. That's like $5 below regular hardcover pricing, especially with something like artwork on it and a unique book jacket thing. Interesting. Anyway, next up, this is Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie N. Holmberg. Charlie N. Holmberg. So first of all, the artwork on this one also really attracted me. And this one says, "Magic has made itself at home, Rhode Island, 1846. It's a period piece. I like it." Estranged from his family, writer Merritt Fernsby, cute, is surprised when he inherits a remote estate in the Narragansett Bay, or Narragansett. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. As soon as we get into like those names like Massachusetts and things like that, or like Chappaquiddick, or like those kinds of places, it's like it's kind of like Lancashire, or like places in the UK where it's just like there's a lot of extra letters here that are doing some heavy lifting, but I'm not sure what they're doing. It's interesting. Though the property has been inhabited for more than a century, Merritt is ready to call it home until he realizes he has no choice, with its door slamming shut and locking behind him. Wimbrel House is not about to let Merritt leave ever. Cute. Sounds fun. It sounds like something just to sit down and kind of go through in a relaxing sort of way. That's the idea that I get from it. So count me excited. So count me excited. So count me excited. So. Now, I am going to grab, a couple of books, that like I said, I don't think I have talked about them on the channel before. I might have, and I apologize if I have, but my memory is starting to fade. No, I'm joking. It's hard to keep track of sometimes. We'll chat a little bit about those, and then once we do that, I will cut to the book review of The Sun and the Void. Alright. First bookie is Hell Followed With Us. Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This book I read. Honestly, I was probably finishing it right as I started uploading consistently back in November of 2023. First of all, let us appreciate this artwork. Like, hello. And then second of all, let us appreciate this literary artwork. This book, okay, fair warning, religious drama, like cult, religious, intense drama, content warning, extreme body horror, content warning, lots of vomiting, content warning, teen violence. Shit's rough in this book. Okay, decimated the world's population. Desperately, he searches for a place where the cult can't get their hands on him, or more importantly, on the deadly bioweapon they infected him with. When Benji is rescued by a ragtag group of teens from the local HSN LGBTQ+ center, affectionately known as the ALC, they offer him shelter as long as he can control the monster within and use his powers to defend them. Their leader Nick is gorgeous, autistic, and a deadly shot, and Benji soon discovers that he has a hidden agenda and more than a few secrets of his own. This book is intensely queer, is a way that I would like to say, kind of phrase it. This book, Andrew Joseph White, is, I would say, one of the biggest unsung talents in the industry. Some TikTok fame, as far as I know. He has a large presence on TikTok anyway. That's how I found this book. Not on BookTok though. I found it through his more just writer content, kind of. Because I like being on that space in social media. When I am on social media. So, the books that he writes are, I understand that a couple of them, this one included, are young adult focused, and in fact there is a if this book was being studied in a junior high classroom or something, there's questions like, Brother Hutch kills Benji's dad. Benji believes that his dad died for him because he loved him. Explain his response to the death of his father. How does this alter his motivations going forward? Debate whether revenge is a good way to solve an issue or a crime. How does joining the Watch make it possible for Benji to complete his mission? So, this one is geared towards queer youth. I don't think that this could ever find its way into a classroom, and I am not saying that because I don't think that trans stories belong in classrooms. They do. They just simply do, because trans stories are, I would say, intimately relatable to the teen experience, no matter if that teen is trans or cis or figuring it out. I think that the inclusion of trans narratives within sort of high school, I would say high school for this one, would be beneficial, because there's a lot about who are you, who are people telling you that you should be. There's a lot of there's a lot of rhyming in that way that I think cisgendered teens can also relate to. There are elements of Benji's story that I can relate to in a way. Very interesting. Not in the sort of I am transgender as well kind of way, but in the I am gay and asexual, and as a kid by a very close family member, a couple of very close family members, I was told that I cannot be that way and that the way that I am is wrong. And this really deals with that. So I think there is relatability here. The thing that I think would make it difficult to put in, especially a junior high school, for reference here where I live, that is grades 7, 8, and 9. Middle school, I think, in the US is 6, 7, and 8. Because then there's 4 years of high school. There's grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Having never gone to high school in the United States, I might be talking out of my ass. But the horror, the body horror, the violence, the Benji vomiting up his own organs, that might make it a little bit of a controversial choice. It's from him. Copious amounts of descriptions of bones, like, like snapping and crunching and all that, and then the person still being alive. Yeah, and then there are creatures in this book, which are the amalgamated body horror remains of victims of this fanatical Christian cult. And like, Benji can control them, and Benji can also like understand that these are still human minds that are like screaming in pain. It's like, shit's intense. But I see exactly why when you watch Andrew Joseph White explain it. When I read the questions in the back of this, I hardly ever read extra material if it is in an actual book, unless it's like chapters of another book that's coming out or whatever. But these questions I did read. I completely understand what Andrew Joseph White is going for. This experience of growing up and becoming an adolescent in a body that does not match who you are. I can only imagine that that would feel like this. For a boy to be living in a world where he has been denied the ability to stop the growth of certain characteristics, it would be unimaginably torturous. And this book does not mince that, and that's why I think that this book is so valuable. Essential reading for, I would say, most people under the LGBTQIA+ umbrella. Certainly essential reading if you are a trans, non-binary, currently transitioning, questioning person. I would say this is a good book to pick up. I can't speak to Andrew Joseph White's other content. I have read descriptions of his other content, of his other novels. The one that's here is The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. I think, personally, I would enjoy those narratives. I would get a lot out of them. The horror of it all, the body horror of it all is just, it's a little bit much for me. I am not a horror person. Luckily, I do not get scared by literature. I get very scared by visual media. Irrationally so. I can't do horror movies. I will never do a horror movie. It's not a good idea for me because it involves loss of sleep. It involves paranoia. It involves it's not good. This is not that kind of horror, but the body horror, it just makes me, I sit in a very uncomfortable place when I am reading it, and again, intended part of the experience. I'm very happy that I read this book. I would pick it up, if not because you enjoy that kind of stuff, but because you are supporting somebody who's telling very essential stories, and is being backed by a publisher, which, in this, I guess, day and age, support as many trans artists as you possibly can, if not so that they can just fucking escape. Anyway, the other thing is, dehumanization of love, the abuse dynamics that exist within religion, specifically American Catholicism and all of its different like weird offshoots and shit. I guess American Protestantism, I should say. That person in my life is not my mom. I love my mom. My mom is a gorgeous person. My grandma on my mom's side is a gorgeous, wonderful person. They're amazing human beings. Just thought I would clarify that. I think if you are a person who has, who's escaped Mormonism, I think this book would also have, things that you can kind of relate to in it as well. Fantastic book. Masterpiece. Probably. I would count this as second favorite book of 2023. First favorite book of 2023. Very likely, very likely, very likely, very likely. So, next up, more young adult, weirdly enough. Next up is The Extraordinaries, by T.J. Klune, One thing that T.J. Klune will do is he will write an adorable fucking novel. If you see T.J. Klune's name on it, buy it. I don't know. They're very good. This book I read in... I would have finished Black Sun in... okay, so this book... I think I was reading the... Oh, right, because then I got Flashfire. I would have read this book in like the waning months of 2021. Most likely I would have read and finished it in January 2022 though. This book, it was kind of off of my red, white, and royal blue kick, which has not ended. I really like that novel. I credit it with getting me back into reading after a very long hiatus. The Extraordinaries, though, I think I like Casey McQuiston's writing better than T.J. Klune's, but I like T.J. Klune's overall. The house is warming up, so it's like cracking. I think, well, okay, Casey McQuiston is a genius. I absolutely love Casey McQuiston and everything that they make. Not a bad story yet. Just gonna say it. I know that there are detractors, specifically of Red, White, and Royal Blue, but I think that's just because it's popular. But T.J. Klune, I think, is more comforting to me. I think that's a good way to write it, or put it. Just because he writes much cozier, much more, like, wholly positive worlds. Not that Casey McQuiston doesn't, but I like Casey McQuiston for the story and the romance and the reality of it. I like T.J. Klune for the unapologetic positivity. This is a young adult novel about essentially human beings who have superpowers. That's literally what it is. And like the thing that I really like about this is that the main character, Nick, he has got ADHD. Okay, here, I'll give you one. Nick Bell is not extraordinary, but being the most popular fanfiction writer in the Extraordinaries fandom isn't a bad start. After a chance encounter with Shadowstar, Nova City's mightiest hero and Nick's biggest crush, Nick is no longer satisfied with writing about heroes. He wants to become one. So he sets out to make himself something more, something extraordinary, full of valiant adventures, thrilling twists, queer romance, and laugh-out-loud humor. This is the beginning of a remarkable story about a fanboy with ADHD and the hero that he loves. So, Nick Bell has ADHD. The amazing thing about this book, it does not turn the ADHD was his superpower all along. It doesn't make that argument. It doesn't go for that. Not that I'm saying that stories seen it, it can feel a little bit reductive. Not that it's like, I understand the empowerment angle, but then there's a little bit of erasure that goes on with that, because there are struggles that come with ADHD that do not feel like superpowers, if you know what I mean. This book it's fun, it's cute, it is very positive, it's very high school, it's very young adult. I would say it's a very nice novel to get a queer or questioning teen in your life. It's just that the powers are fun, the action is fun, the twists are fun. It's a trilogy, so there's 3 of them, and they are 3 very competently made books. I'd say this one is probably the strongest, and then the second one is close to on par, and then the third is just a little step down, but that's because of a plot point that I think takes like maybe 4 chapters too long. But it's a great series overall. The Extraordinaries is really nice, and there's a lot of family in it. There's a lot of found family in it. It's just very nice. I like it. Nova City, which is the city that it takes place in, is kind of a comfort for me, I guess, is a good way to put it. Okay, so last book that I'm going to talk about is another TJ Klune, In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. This is TJ Klune's, well, at the time it was his latest project, although I understand that TJ Klune also has like a wolf series that I haven't read that I'm getting more curious about. I wrote it off initially because it was a wolf series, and then I was like, you know what if I actually give it a shot? So you might see me reading it at some point, probably, mostly because I want to support TJ Klune. And then TJ Klune also came out with a sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. This book, though, at the time was his most recent project, and it is the most recent project of his that I have read. This is an artist evolved. TJ Klune, if I would say he has one hallmark throughout all of his projects, even in the blurbs of the Wolf books that he's written, I believe that family is a core exploration of his in all of his work. This book is about an inventor of robots who is raising possibly the final human on Earth, which I think is really interesting. I've got it right here. In a strange little home built into the branches of a grove of trees live 3 robots: fatherly inventor android Giovanni Lawson, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, and a small vacuum desperate for love and attention. Victor Lawson, a human, lives there too. They're a family, hidden and safe, so there's that family connection. Found family or real family. He likes to write both of them. Then one day Vic salvages and repairs an unfamiliar android labeled HAP, H-A-P, and he learns of a shared dark past between HAP and Geo, a past spent hunting humans. When HAP unwittingly alerts robots from Geo's former life to their whereabouts, the family is no longer hidden and safe. Geo is captured and taken back to his old laboratory in the city of Electric Dreams, which is very heavily implied to be Las Vegas. That's what I get from it. So together the rest of Vic's assembled family must journey across an unforgiving and otherworldly country to rescue Geo from decommissioning, or worse, reprogramming, along the way to save Geo. Amid conflicted feelings of betrayal and affection for Hap, Vic must decide for himself, can he accept love with strings attached? This book Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. I think Under the Whispering Door is my favorite of these, like, sort of offshoot novels, is maybe a good way to put it. Yeah, Under the Whispering Door is probably my favorite because it is just like deep coziness. It is cathartic. It's so nice. House in the Cerulean Sea is my second favorite because it's just so wonderful and sweet and cute, and again, it all culminates very wonderfully. This, I think, is my least favorite. Obviously, that is me putting it still quite high on a list of, like, all of the books I've ever read. Mostly because this book is, it's incredibly melancholic. It's sad. It's hopeful, but it is sad. And I think that is one of the reasons why I really, really like it, and also have a hard time with it because there is so much loss involved, and it's heartbreaking, and these characters go through quite a journey and quite a transformation, And then I read them this, and they're like, you want to read that? And obviously we're very respectful about it, because when they tell me what they're reading, I'm always like, oh, love that for you. It's just something interesting about the people that I surround myself with. None of us are, other than me, fantasy or sci-fi readers. It's just how it happened. So, I like talking about them. I like giving my thoughts. I like debriefing almost. To be very honest, this is kind of a personal check-in kind of video. I'm happy if people enjoy them, but, it's really just, it's honestly, kind of a diary exercise, I guess, is a good way to put it, where I could write down my thoughts, and periodically I do. I like to talk about them, and of course having a YouTube channel is a great place to do that. So, The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero LaCruz. This book is awesome. I love it. I would not say, okay, we're starting off the year strong. This is my first book of the year, like I said, and we're starting off strong. 2 good books in a row. I am very happy about that. But am I in love with this book? Am I going to, maybe at the beginning I should have said I like this book. Am I going to carry this book with me for years and years and years and years and years? Maybe not, but it is definitely the kind of book that somebody could, and that is what I appreciate this for. This thing is a work of literature. It is literature. It is art. It is hard to describe the sheer quality of this book. Gabriela Romero LaCruz is just an impeccable writer. Orbit, the publisher, Orbit Fantasy, obviously. Orbit, the publisher, they know how to pick them. They really do. Gabriela is like, it is rare that you find such fantastic, sort of like deep, in-depth, rich work being done so simply but complexly. I don't know if that's a good way to put it. I kind of just said a big oxymoron. This is like the Candy Muse, like, well, no as in yes moment. But this book is truly, I would say, a already modern classic. It is very well written. It is impeccably written, I would say. There was, in 511 pages, maybe one moment where it was like, what's going on with that sentence structure? But even then, it was like, you take a second read and it's like, I can see where they were going with that sentence structure. This book is a very, 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 very good showcase of somebody's talent in writing. Okay, this is sort of my like, should you get it? If you like epic fantasy in the strain of grand battles, magical duels, cutting down monsters, does this have a said, Ava's father. Who does Reyna love? All of these things you could be spoiled for, but they will fundamentally ruin the drama of the work. So, when I say that spoilers are like a huge thing for this book, they are huge. I would not have liked to have this spoiled if I was starting it. It honestly is experience ruining a little bit, a lot of it, I would say. If, like, again, what is the problem with Javier? Well, if you have that spoiled for you, one of the central tensions of this book is just solved for you already. It's not like there is a murder that's going on and there's like character work going on around it. This book is character work. So, do not be angry at me for spoiling it. So, basically, the other thing that I have to say at the beginning, if I would say that this book is heavy as well. Sometimes it, like the relationship between Javier and Ava, for example, and even just by saying the relationship between Javier and Ava, already that is spoiling something. So, you get it. It's not as big of a spoiler, but the relationship between Javier and Ava, there are shades of intimate partner violence in there, or at least intimate partner abuse in there. So, like, this book does have those kinds of themes, but I would say handled incredibly maturely. It is not this kind of thing of like, oh well, he's just so fucked up and she's gonna save him. Like, no. It is not that. This book has bad people in it, and this book also does not pull any fucking punches. For example, Doña Ursulina, Reina's grandmother. Shitty, awful person. And Reina goes along with her for a very long time. And Reina, I would say very rightfully, experiences some pretty horrific consequences as a result. So you will need to prepare yourself going into this novel for the characters to be intensely flawed people, and also being prepared for them to do things on page that are almost morally disqualifying, I guess. So here is a full list. This book takes place in a fantasy world. Reina is a Nosariel, which is essentially an underclass. It is a different species of person in this world, and Nosariels in the fiction of this world used to be enslaved, and they are now free, but intensely discriminated against. And there is a fictionalized racial slur in this book that I am not going to repeat because Gabriela Romero Cruz does such a fucking amazing job of making me feel like that shit is really off limits. It truly, this book is a masterclass, but it's just like, it's very visceral, and the racism is very real, and it is palpable, and it has a huge effect on Reina and on Ava as well as a Valko. So it's like, that is very heavy, but the themes that it explores, very well done. I would not say that Gabriela Romero LaCruz does a poor job of handling fictionalized racism, which is a massive pitfall that people can fall into. So, well done with that. There is also the kidnapping and murder of innocent women done by two main characters, as well as the kidnapping of babies and the possibility that that could lead to the baby's death, perpetrated by two of the main characters. So it's like you get the sense of this world where it is incredibly harsh. So be prepared. Okay? All of that out of the way. How did I feel about this? I liked it. Character work is, like I have said, absolutely fantastic. Reina. We're gonna start with Reina, who I feel like is the more major of the two main protagonists. There's Reina and Ava, and Reina feels like, at least to me, who I identify more with. That being said, she is the one participating in the kidnapping of babies and women. So, yikes. But she is incredibly compelling. She is intensely complex, as is her circumstance. Same thing with Ava. Ava is a little bit too quiet for my liking, is a little bit too helpless for maybe a little bit too long, but I understand why, in terms of, for the service of the story. And then her arc kind of goes in a direction where I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it. She is by far the more redeemable of the two main protagonists. She's just one that I identify with less. I do, however, see a world where Ava is the more identifiable main character. I would say that is going to be the case for probably about 70% of the people who read this, because Ava does not participate in the schemes of Doña Ursulina to quite as much of an extent as Reina does. And the other two kind of main characters, plus one kind of, Celeste and Javier, love them. And then Mayor is, she's just perfect. She's awesome. I really like her. I really like her. And then the world I am classifying here as a character. This fictional world is brutal. So a little bit of kind of background on this book. This book is set in a fictionalized post-colonial world. It's not set on Earth, it's set on a completely different planet. But there are very clear indications that the two countries that this story takes place in, Venecia and Vedria, they are both sort of like, they've got Gabriela Romero LaCruz is Venezuelan, so like that is in the back of the book. There's an author interview. What she says in a revolution. And that revolution brought about the end to Nosarial slavery. That revolution brought an end to economic and social ties to the Sigillian Empire. And it also exposed a lot of people to a lot of violence. Sigillian culture, of course, heavily influences Venetian and Fedrian culture, and as a result, the sort of Catholicism analog Pentimiento is very overtly an oppressive, hierarchical, misogynistic, anti-queer organization. And there is a lot of sort of complications around race in this novel as well, because there's also so the four sort of species of people in this world are the Nosarials, who are alive. They were once enslaved by humans. The Falcos, who are and Nosarials have pointed ears. They have like alligator scales on their nose. One massively long time skip later, but Nosarials have pointed ears, like alligator type scales on their nose, their elbows, their knees, and a tail. And then there's the humans. Oh, and sorry, Falcos, they have like antlers and magical affinity, more so than the other species, humans. And then the Yaras, who are extinct. They were exterminated by the humans. So there is a lot of racial politics, interspecies politics in this world. And this all comes together. This like violent slavery, colonial, genocidal, and then just like it religious, it all comes together to form a very harsh world. And you get this sense of tragedy because you are seeing this world from the perspective of one Reina, who is Nosarial, and she lives in the country where Nosarials are legal, because in the other country, after the institution of slavery was done away with after the revolution, they just kicked all the Nosarials out, or so Nosarials live still as a horrifically discriminated against underclass. So like seeing that, the world from her perspective, and she is also somebody who enjoys women. She is a woman who is gay or bisexual, but we never see her engage with men romantically, so I am inclined to say that she's a lesbian. She also kind of views the world through these sort of prejudices that a lot of the religious folk who follow Pentimiento bring to the table. So you get to experience this incredibly beautiful and rich and wildly amazing world that is being completely tainted by colonial societal norms and cultural norms and all of these things. It is the same for Ava. Ava is quarter Falco, I believe. geomancia in this universe, and that is also like, it's tragic because you have this culture that is so married to religion and so married to like this idea of family and upholding the family honor and manners and the role of a woman and the, like, it's just this society is suffocating for anybody who doesn't follow the norms. And Ava and Reina both have their ways of dealing with it. Ava, we see it way more. Ava attempts to comply, but she cannot. And because she cannot, because she has a very headstrong nature, she ends up believing that she has a devil in her. Like, for the majority of the book, she is very, like, self-critical, and she is very, like, from a person who lives on Earth in 2025, where we have the idea of women's rights. It's just like, no, you're okay, you're fine, come on. Like, I want to, like, I want to slit her grandma's throat. It's just, because, like, at once she was gonna be this pawn to, like, marry off to a local magistrate so that her family didn't have to deal with her anymore. And then eventually her grandmother is like, I'm gonna marry you to this pig of a man who is related to the royal family so that we can get royal association. And it's just like, holy shit, Ava, run. And then she does run with Javier, who promises her, like, I'm gonna teach you about your Vaco heritage, I'm gonna get you in touch with magic, it's gonna be great. And turns out he is literally becoming a zombie demon. They're called Tinebla in this world. And that is where, again, shades of intimate partner violence. But that is where she ends up, and it's like, this girl can't fucking win. Because in societies like these, women cannot win. That is such a massive message of this book, is that patriarchal, misogynistic, honor-bound, highly hierarchical societies are not healthy for women, because if they obey, they're miserable. Ava's sister, Pura, has done everything that she needs to do. She has gotten married, she has born children, and she is very quiet, and Ava kind of looks down on her, because she's like, what kind of a life is that? I don't need that life for myself. And it's like, no, you don't. But she has almost no choice until Javier shows up. But that's beside the point. Because even then, that's a whole manipulation. And then same thing with Reina. Reina, she has to deal with being a member of a species that is either an underclass at best, or a class where parents literally have to mutilate their own children in order for them to fit in with human society, so that they don't look like Nosarios. Nosarios have the tails, except a lot of Nosario parents will cut off their child's tail so that they are not immediately recognizable, so that they don't get discriminated against, so that they don't get beaten in the street, so that they don't get passed over for opportunities. And then Reina, being half human, half Nosario, experiences everything that comes with being a Nosario, being a member of the underclass, and then also hours she has to deal with fucking Javier, who's I hate Javier, but he's such a good character, which that is a good sign of writing. That is a sign of good writing. But Reina still has to deal with this shit, because even when she saves Mayor's life and she shows Mayor kindness, Mayor still calls her the racial slur. Granted, Reina is kidnapping Mayor in order for Mayor to be sacrificed later, but it's like this poor girl can't get a fucking break, and she tries and tries, and only is it until the very end of the novel that she actually gets to see another Nosario with a tail. And it's like the last sixth of the novel, she gets to see a bunch of Nosarios with tails, and it's just like, and it's this like breath of fresh air moment, something so trivial and something that I think a lot of other fantasy novels would kind of like gloss over. Oh, this other Nosario had a tail, cool. It makes a big moment of it because we are so in tune with Reina's racialized status, and that is where we get into another parallel with Earth. Gabriela Romero LaCruz has done her fucking homework, because there are also shades of in Spanish colonial societies, there was this obsession with blood. There was an obsession with, are you Spanish? Are you of the land, but of Spanish descent? Do you have an ancestor that's indigenous? Are you half indigenous? Are you quarter indigenous? Are you part Spanish, part this? So in Spanish colonial society, there used to be these rosters of like everything would have a name, and it goes so much further beyond mestizo, but it's like this obsession with cataloging. Do you have indigenous blood as well? If you have indigenous blood, you're lower in society. How much indigenous blood do you have? If you were a quarter indigenous, you have a higher status than somebody who's half indigenous or 3/4 indigenous. And that is where the Nosariel and the Valco thing comes in again, where there's always a mention that Ava is either, I can't remember, half or quarter Valco, and that makes her a devil. Same thing with Reina. Reina is half Nosariel, and the human side just gets completely fucking ignored. She is Nosariel. She has the tail. Tough luck. It is, like I said, it is like this fictionalized version of post-colonial South American sociology. It is such a fantastic work. It is rich. It is well explored. It is it is such a well-inspired and well-built world. If you are looking for a properly immersive world, you've got it. This is on Brian McClellan levels of good world building. It's fantastic, and the rules are hard and fast, and it's amazing. Same thing with the magic system. The magic system, I don't think we dive as deep as we possibly could go, but I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I kind of would like the magic system to stay at its current level of vagueness. Essentially, there's 4 kind of flavors of magic, and you need different like mixtures of potions to be able to access it. And like, for example, Galio is healing, Litio is protection, Bismuto is enhancement, and then Iridio is kind of nebulous. There's a lot of possibilities with Iridio, but there's also a lot of danger with Iridio. And that brings me to the plot, like 70 million minutes into this video. So essentially, Reina and Ava are separate for the vast majority of the book. Reina is, excuse me, you can hear my throat gurgling. Reina has been called to Sadul Fuerte, to Aquila Manor by her grandmother. Her father is dead. Her father was estranged from her grandmother, and she has received this letter. Hey, there's Duvianos, which is Reina's family name, out here in Sadul Fuerte. So Reina goes and makes this trek to find her family. She has to go through a bunch of mountains, and the mountains are dangerous because cold, obviously, and then there's also these, like, zombie monster kind of things, called Dinabla, which are kind of like, they're not zombies, but they are like, they are creations of essentially the devil, that are incomplete. The devil is trying to, Ramagut is the devil's name. Ramagut creates these things because Ramagut always wants to be able to create life, but he never can. There's always something wrong with it. So these are his attempts at creating a human, but they don't have a heart. So they search for hearts to eat. She gets attacked in the mountains by these Tinablas, and she gets bitten by them, and essentially if you get bitten by them but your heart is still intact, you're eventually going to rot away and become a Tinabla. She's rescued by the Aguila family, by Doña Laurel, who is the benevolent lady of Aguila Manor, the husband of Don Enrique, who is the caudillo. Again, wildly rich world. So good. And anyway, her grandmother, who is like one of the most powerful geomancers, magic users, essentially on the continent, at least one of the best studied ones, if not the most powerful, gives her a heart of this Iridio as an experiment, and kind of peppers in with this whole thing like, Reina, you're going to be the successor to the Duvianos name, you're going to be powerful, you're going to have money, and I've given you this heart so that you can continue to live. Ava, on the other hand, is stuck in the city of Galeno. She is half Falco. Her mother died of suicide, and her father is unknown. Her father is the Falco side, and her mother is the human side, so she is half Falco. And she is part of the Serrano family, but because her father was not a member of this family, she has to take the name of the city that she was born in, Galeno, which is already a mark of shame for the family, and the fact that she is a Falco is also a mark of shame for the family. And the Serrano family is kind of once great, but once slavery was dismantled as an institution, they murdered all of their notarial former slaves, and they were left in kind of a precarious economic state. So the Serranos were once great, and like, they've had all this shit happen to them since the revolution. And then they have Ava, who is like just the cherry on top of our family name is shit cake, essentially. And so she struggles because she has a calling for geomancia, but geomancia is seen as essentially witchcraft. Pentimiento is modern day, like, Spanish Catholicism, like Inquisition levels of fervor. And then geomancia is witchcraft, and we all know what happened to witches in Catholic Christian nations for like hundreds of years. So Ava is seen to be this like deviant, this devil, this girl who is just naturally drawn to the worst things, and she's had this sort of like Reina's problem anymore. And so she has to deal with this. And her uncle Nestor, who's gay, is kind of her only lifeline, but he moves away because the city kind of starts going a little bit wacky when the Inquisition literally comes to Galeno and starts rooting out geomancia users. Again, the parallels are very apparent. And so she ends up being in contact with Javier Aguila. So that is kind of the only tether that Reina and Ava have to each other at this point. And then there's this big party. It's revealed that Ava is either going to be cloistered in a nunnery or she's going to have to marry this dickhead. And finally she's like, actually, third option, I'm going to run away with Javier and become his husband, his wife, and learn geomancy and all this. Reina, on the other hand, feels a debt to Donna Laurel, who dies in childbirth. So then she feels a debt to Don Enrique for letting her live in the mansion, and her grandmother for saving her life. And Don Enrique wants to resurrect his wife, Donna Laurel, by invoking Ramagut, the devil, whose power grows every 42 years until you see a comet in the sky. That's basically his claw trying to tear open the sky so he can return. And there is this legend that if you sacrifice Ramagut's 9 reincarnated wives, you can ask him for anything. So Don Enrique wants to resurrect his wife, Donna Laurel. Reina kind of wants a new heart. And then Javier has his own ambitions because he's tired of being in his brother's shadow, who is Don Enrique. It's all connected. Meanwhile, in the middle of this, Celeste, who is Don Enrique's daughter and heir, Reina is smitten. Like, in love with Celeste. In love, she is down bad. So, that is how Donna Ursulina, Reina's grandmother, can convince her to begin kidnapping women and babies in order to find out who is one of Ramagut's reincarnated wives and who isn't. Who are the 9 women that we are going to have to take a blood sample from. Later it's revealed that these women will need to be killed in order to resurrect Donna Laurel. It's fucked. And then once Ava runs away with Javier, Javier has his own plans to invoke Ramagut for his own ambitions. So it kind of puts everybody on a path. Literally the only person with any amount of sanity in this is Celeste, who wants to find a fabled blade of Ramagut's rival, Chess, the god of the sun. And Chess's blade supposedly can plunge a hole into the sky, rip it open, and make it daytime for 24 hours for a set amount of time. Because Ramagut can only be invoked at night. So that is setting the stage. And it's incredibly complicated, but the way that the characters go through it and the way that it is written and this intricate character work and this complexity, it just fleshes it out in the most beautiful way. It is so good. It's like, and we're not even talking about the writing style, but like, Reina is so real and so relatable. How can I find sympathy for a woman who is indirectly responsible for the death of a baby she kidnapped? I so desperately want Celeste to love Reina. And then that's the other thing. Big spoilers. Celeste and Reina eventually kiss. And then Celeste says, "You know what, Reina? I've known that you've been in love with me, and I wanted to give you that one night, but we can't be in love. Sorry, You're my best friend. When I tell you, I read this part in the car in between, like on my break at work, and when I tell you, I felt the rejection and the heartbreak. Oh my god. It's so devastating to be shown that Celeste, despite all of this niceness and all of her kindness and her goodness and her supposed non-adherence to all of these like awful cultural, racist, misogynistic things, still does not accept Reina. Holy shit, I was like, burn it all to the fucking ground. And Reina has a moment of like, burn it all to the fucking ground. Ava also does have one of those moments, and it's just like, I understand. I completely get it. If I was a racialized woman in this world, I probably would have started fucking killing people too. It's just, it does such a good job of inserting you into this fucked world and then making you sympathize with these flawed people. What does such an oppressive system naturally drive people towards? That is kind of this whole thing. On the back of the book, there's a lot of stuff about belonging, that this novel is about family and belonging. Excuse me. And I think, yes, that fully does mean, but I would say that family, I would say, is like probably like one of the core pillars. It's holding this book up. I would say that when you are told that you don't belong, and when society does not have a place for you, how do you carve a place for yourself without stepping on a few toes? And in this case, stepping on a few toes is literally having to run away from your home city with the clothes on your back, with a man who is going to eventually turn into a fucking zombie demon. It's like, again, it's fucked. And then Mayor, for example, who is one of these 9 wives who Reina does kidnap, who Javier kidnaps, and then Reina kind of shows her a little tiny bit of kindness. And then when Reina is banished from Aguila Manor, finally, Mayor escapes using that little bit of kindness that Reina showed her. And Mayor, despite having been kidnapped by Reina, heals her, travels with her, and eventually develops a little bit of a crush on her. Mayor is truly too good for that world. Mayor is way too good for Reina. But by the end of it, it's like, you know what? Mayor is necessarily been shown much kindness by this world either. So does that make them perfect for each other? It really confronts you with a lot of very difficult questions and very difficult themes, and asks you to interrogate them within yourself. And it is to the point where, you know, I kind of see why Reina and Ava had to do the things that they did. Because even when you're talking about a main character like Javier, who is kind of, who's an antagonist of the book, I would say, in a way, as well as a protagonist, again, in a way. Even when you're faced with somebody like Javier, it's like, well, yeah, sure, he's taking Ava away, but then also he's using her as well. Like, these women are pawns. And then finally, Ava has a moment where she kind of comes turns into her own sort of evil. And Reina has a moment where she kind of breaks the shackles of the evil that's holding her back. And when Reina has that moment, it is so cathartic. Reina beats the living daylights out of Javier. And you know what? I really don't feel bad. She shouldn't have when she did. But it is the most natural reaction. I don't fault her for it. When she literally cleaves her grandmother from shoulder to hip, it's like, you know what? Maybe it's not that smart. Yeah, that is your last living blood relative. But I know exactly why she did it. And I'm happy that she did. Oh, it's so good. Get this book. Again, it is much more character work and much less action than maybe other fantasy novels are. But this book is very good. You will want to know what happens next. You will want to know how Reina's relationship with her grandmother resolves. You will want to know how Reina's relationship with Celeste resolves. You will want to know how Ava finally manages to escape the crushing weight of society on her shoulders. This book will keep you wanting. You will want to turn the page. Oh my god, we didn't even talk about the writing quality. Oh my god. So, this book also has like some of the richest descriptive work I've ever seen. I thought Travis Baldree did a good job. Step aside. Get ready for Gabriela Romero LaCruz. The descriptions of color. This world is bursting with vivid, beautiful color. This world has these intoxicating smells. It has these amazingly, gorgeously built buildings. The food. This book has it's most likely symbolic in a way that I really don't have the mind space for right now, but the descriptions of food and excess and the feasts and the flavors of the food and the look of the food and the way that the characters take time to eat, it's just every sensory experience is there. The heat of the jungle, the fact that you need to fan yourself in Galeno and Segalita, the fact that the Paramo is kind of like this beautiful sort of mountainous, temperate paradise, the vegetable garden in Gagania. It's just, it is so richly detailed. And does it maybe have a little bit of that, like, it takes a chapter to describe a meadow kind of quality? Maybe, but I appreciate it because it just adds to this contrast of this gorgeous, fantastically amazing world that you want to live in, and then setting it in stark relationship with the culture and the legacy of human colonialism and the legacy of slavery and the racism and the misogyny and it's a masterwork. It's really good. It's so good. And like it all serves as a backdrop to this incredibly intricate character work that is in dialogue with the society that those characters live in. It is impeccable. Get The Sun and the Void. Get it. If you like fantasy, honestly, even if you're a fan of action fantasy, I think you'll like this. I don't want to lead you astray, but it's a really good book. It's a really good book. It is a very well executed fantasy story. And usually for excited